evening, folks. This is the one and only Wookie from Wookie Automotive for episode 4 of the Wookie Automotive Racin Ramblin podcast. Sorry about the delay on episode 3. I was an idiot. I should have just gone ahead last Sunday and just uploaded it right after I recorded it, but I figured, I'll wait till Monday. Well, we had a one-day turnaround for Daytona, and yeah, I ended up working late Monday. So, and then I didn't have any internet while I was out in Daytona. We were staying at a house nearby, and yeah, long story short, oops. And of course, if I put that thing out on Sunday, that would have been perfect, because there was a lot to talk about last weekend. But I'm not here to talk about Chicago. I'm here to talk about Daytona. For the annual Firecracker 400, Coca-Cola 400, Zero Sugar 400 weekend, whatever you want to call it this year. Let's call it the Firecracker. So over there with the Xfinity Series, didn't run a Cup car this week, but we had a career weekend for the team for old MBM. Finished 7th, and Chad got his best career finish, finished 14th, his first top 20, first top 15. That alone would have been a career day for MBM, something to write home about. That's a very good finish for our little team. But Timmy went ahead and finished 7th, and actually had a car that probably was in contention to win at the end. Timmy tied his best career finish. Carl got his first top 10 as a team owner, finally. But yeah, very good points weekend. Finally, hopefully got that monkey off our back. Hopefully going to try to ride that going into Kentucky. We passed a couple of cars in points. Got ahead of the 55 car finally. The 45, the 24 JGL number, which they're not going to come back. So that one's in reach. And then the 45 car, he's been struggling. Oh, poor Josh. It's 3 straight engine failures for that car. Kind of a rough week, really rough weekend for JP. They debuted a new engine package. No longer were PME due to reasons. They bought a bunch of engines from Arrington and immediately blew up one in Josh's car in practice. They spent all night, changed it, and then blew up. Engine was down on power from the start and blew up during the race. So, very expensive weekend for JP. And then Hightower, Brandon, that kid stayed out of trouble for much of the race, but then chopped down on Chad late in the race, front clipped his car. It's just super speedway racing. And that's a team that really doesn't need any tore-up cars. They're struggling mightily right now to keep things together. But anyways, very good weekend for the MBM bunch. Hopefully we can carry that momentum into Kentucky. Anyways, let's get started. Got myself a beer. Got me a Shiner Homespun Cream Ale from Spoltzel Brewery in Texas. This will be my fuel to get through this. Here I go. Of course, I was in Daytona. It was actually a pretty smooth weekend for a super speedway weekend. Usually, we're ripping and tearing on stuff, but no, it was a really smooth weekend for us for once. Both cars that had a little hiccups here and there in tech and stuff like that, but for the most part, it was a really smooth weekend. Both cars were quick. The 40 car drafted really good, and Timmy's car was just very quick all weekend long. Luckily, we partnered up with VSI Racing and NXT, which ran the 54 car at the first Daytona with Greg Galden. Well, Mike, that's his car, realized, oh man, I really don't know, I can't do this by myself. So he teamed up with Carl for Talladega, where he fielded the car for him. Ran halfway decent, but proved to VSI, got a halfway decent finish there, but proved to VSI that, hey, we aren't no slouches. They paid a pretty good bill this weekend, paid for a Gibbs motor, and Timmy ran really, really, really well. Of course, that's a very good car. It's a 2017 Gibbs car. Sister car to actually Josh Balicki's car, but yeah, there was a clear difference between those two cars this weekend, and a lot of it was what was under the hood. But anyways, yeah, I had a really easy weekend. The trip down there was a little rough. Shortly after leave Charlotte, I was in the toter home, and it started throwing engine codes and stuff like that. We made it down to Daytona, luckily, but we got in there late. Just slept in the truck before we unloaded in the morning. And then I didn't get a chance to go to DJ's Deck Down Under, which is a must stop when you're in Daytona. Best seafood in town. The night we had that we were gonna go out and do it, we didn't get out of tech until it was like 8:30. We weren't by the time everyone showered and stuff like that, we weren't gonna make it in time before they closed. So we went ahead and a couple of guys went to the Ocean Deck, which is a bar and grill right on Daytona Beach. Really nice place. That place was popping Thursday night. But then yeah, had some really good seafood. Enjoyed the atmosphere. We didn't have to be there first thing Saturday or Friday morning. I forgot. Keep on forgetting it was a Friday night race. But didn't have to be until noon, so we got to sleep in. That was nice. Qualifying, of course, got rained out, so we just sat around doing nothing all afternoon. But then the race happened. Got a couple. I fueled for Chad. Got a couple beats and bruises from the couple big ones. Flat in the right side, trying to miss the big one, the first big one where Austin Cindric flipped. And yeah, fun fact, apparently that was the first time we've had a car flip in the July Xfinity race, which I think that race has only been going on since 2001, 1999 or something like that. But yeah, first time a car has actually flipped in that race. So yeah, that was the first. First flip in an Xfinity series since 2015 when Regan Smith flipped down the front stretch at the spring Daytona race. But anyways, got a little road rash on the right side. Timmy got a little road rash on the left side. And then on the restart, right off the restart, Brandon Hightower, of course, chopped him, wrecked himself. And that ended up actually worked in our favor because right after Brandon wrecked, the left rear cut down, so we came back in, pulled the fender the rest of the way out on the right rear, and then continued on our way. Then the second big one happened, and unfortunately we got into the back of the 39 car, Ryan Sieg. But he was kind of diving down in the miss the guys on the high side. Chad was diving up to miss the guys on the low side, and they met in the middle, punched a hole in the right front of Chad's car. We had to beat it out. Luckily, there was green and white checkers, so we beat it out, ran around to the finish, and then Sieg wasn't so lucky. That car looked like it got destroyed, which is unfortunate because they lost 3 cars in that one wreck. But anyways, rode around to the end, finished 14th, got a career best finish for Chad. And then Timmy went ahead and got a career best finish for Carl as a team owner, and Timmy matched his personal best. So overall, very, very good race weekend. We really needed it. Been struggling mightily this year, just keeping things together. But anyways, yeah. Let's go back through the top 5. Carl Larson won by a fender over Elliott Sadler, but we will get to that in a second. Christopher Bell overcame a spin on pit road to finish 3rd. Ryan Blaney finished 22nd. Or not 22nd, he was in the 22 car. He finished 4th. And then Kaz Gralla overcame a cut tire on a restart or something. I think it was something like that. Finished 5th. Kept his season alive. Turns out he had a show car running a 2007 Evernham car. And yeah, apparently it's been used as a show car for a while. Stuart Haas has had it, and they've been using it as a show car for the last few years. And yeah, this was just a last second purchase so he can get to this race and run. And yeah, paid off, finished fifth. I would not put it past that they got the money to go to Kentucky. He was like Brett Moffitt in the Truck Series. He is racing to keep his season alive, and I think he still has a very good shot of getting in the top or getting into the chase. So yeah, that's just race to race right now, and they're just racing to keep their season alive. Now, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but the big talking point from Friday night was the finish. Coming to the checkered, Justin Haley was running third in his second start, or second Xfinity Series start in the second GMS ride, the 24 car. The first time the second GMS car has been out this year, and yeah, he made a killer move coming to checkers, got around because Carl Larson and Elliott Sadler were drag racing to the front. Well, Justin saw an opening, slingshotted around the both of them, and took the checkered flag. Unfortunately, his tires were he clipped underneath the yellow line, was 6 inches below the line. NASCAR threw his finish out. He ended up threw his win out because he went below the yellow line, which is a big no-no. And of course, we got to hear the uproar. Now, I'm honestly, there was more rage at this finish than there was in the Cup finish, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But anyways, yeah, it sparked a debate, the yellow line debate once again. I think it should be there. But I've been a supporter of the throwing it out on the last lap kind of deal because we've run into more issues of people boxing each other to the line and the guy on the inside not moving, and you get a Carl Edwards flying into the catch fence at Talladega situation. That's just, especially on the front stretch, I feel the yellow line really should get thrown out on the last lap. That's just my personal opinion. I do understand where they're coming from. NASCAR has him, or I can't pronounce that at all. But word salad going on. But he put on an excellent history of the yellow line rule on Twitter. That you should look it up. But basically showed off a bunch of really key examples of why the yellow line rule came about. Mike Skinner or Jeff Gordon at Daytona 1999 was an example, and then Mike Skinner and Tony Stewart at Talladega was the next very big example. And then there was actually a Busch race that really inspired that rule because there was a lot of guys using the grass as a pick during that race, and so NASCAR kind of sat down and no, yellow line, out of bounds, stay away from that. And of course, there's been plenty of controversy over the years. You get the Regan Smith finish at Talladega in 2008, where clear example that rule should have been thrown out. Was he forced down? I don't want to get into that debate right now. But I think it was more of a fact that the outrage came from here was a guy that nobody really heard about. Awesome move at the end, got taken away, and Tony Stewart got the win. Which, at the time, that was still very much at the time. Tony Stewart, his popularity was still he was kind of where Kyle Busch is right now. But anyways, wasn't very well liked yet. But Tony kind of turned that around as he became a Cup owner. He became one of the most well-liked racers in the Cup garage. But anyways, that was just my thoughts on the finish. Thoughts on the yellow line rule. Throw it out on the last lap. Yeah, we had a Cup guy win because of it, but a rule. I will say rules are rules. Justin did. He had actually plenty of space, and I can't remember which commentator pointed out. He had plenty of space to make the move without clipping the yellow line. What he did, and that was probably just a rookie mistake, not being well aware of where he was. Just figured he was going to give those other two guys plenty of room, and unfortunately gave them too much room. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on that whole deal. I think the yellow line rule should be in place, except for on the last lap. And in regards to the finish, I believe because we got a clear set of rules right now, Justin should have had that win taken away just because that's what the rules say now. Not what you want them to say, that's what the rules say now. And unfortunately, he lost that because of that. Now, Cup Series. Excuse me, let me take a sip real quick. Yeah, it's a cream ale. 400. Firecracker 400. How was it? Well, it was about like the Daytona 500. Excuse my French, but it was a shit show. Yeah. Those boys just kept on wrecking. I believe there was 13 cars on the lead lap at the end of that thing. Yeah. This was not an example of the 40 best drivers or 40 best stock car drivers in the country. No. Those guys, that was just some stupid racing. And the racing itself was great. When they weren't wrecking, the actual drafting and stuff, it was great. Yeah, you got some single file stuff, and of course, the younger fans always freak out when that happens. But honestly, when it came to it, they would bunch back together and all that. So, but yeah, first segment, nice, clean and green. And then the second segment hit, and about halfway through the second segment, everything went out the window, and all went to shit. Yeah, had the first big one, took out, I think there was 17 cars taken out in that one. Or if they weren't taken out, they were severely wounded. And then, yeah, it just turned into wreck after wreck after wreck. There were actually, the first one was, Paul Menard got turned around, got a little bit airborne. Kind of a weird one, but, it was kind of similar to, Michael Annett had a wreck like that, at Talladega a few years ago. He got T-boned, spun, got T-boned, all four wheels came off the ground, did kind of pirouette and landed on the ground. But Menard kept going. Ended up getting a halfway decent finish, too. Just kind of rode around and let everybody take each other out. But anyways. But yeah, that was just embarrassing. And yeah, I think Kurt Busch put it best, is that you got a guy 17th in points fighting for every point he can to make the chase, and as a result, most of the field gets taken out. Why are we racing like this? Plate racing. Yeah, and I'm gonna say it like I said it for the road course races, but for the complete opposite reason. We don't need stages in super speedway races. Ever since we got them, these super speedway races have been wreckfests, and even before the stages came out. But I think the last couple of years, the two Daytona races this year are clear examples why I believe believe this because they're driving over their heads. There's no patience anymore. Now we're fighting like it's the last lap on lap 50. And when majority of the field gets taken out with over half the race left, what's the point? It's what are we doing, guys? It was like the freaking Xfinity race at Daytona last year, the spring one, where we had two 15-car wrecks before the end of the first segment. You're just promoting stupid driving. The Xfinity, there was some big wrecks in the Xfinity race, but I still think that was a lot better race than the Cup race. Yeah. And then, of course, you got all the pundits on the Twitterverse and stuff, and social media saying, what a joke. Well, NASCAR drivers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was a joke. What are we going to do? I honestly think the best fix for that is just do away with the stages at super speedway races. Yeah, that's the only thing I think will help. But just the style of the drivers and racing we got going on right now, it's just NASCAR. When we go to Talladega, they really need to sit these drivers down and say, calm the F down. And yeah, the fall Talladega race is usually pretty wild, but because of the chase. But when we go back to Talladega in fall, they really just got to sit everybody down and just, guys, you're the best stock car drivers in the country. Prove it. Show it. Don't be turning each other and taking out the entire field in lap 50. And it's not just, you'll have a big one. You've always had a big one at Daytona and Talladega. But when there's stuff that can be avoided because of aggressive driving, that's when you're going to have a problem. The actual drafting and stuff like that, the package looked great. I think they finally figured out the 3 races in, we finally got a good happy medium with the current super speedway package, which the package itself is unchanged from last year. The actual aero package. It's the fact that you got those guys opened up on springs now. You're not putting spec springs under spring and shocks anymore. You're letting the teams run their own stuff. And I think you finally at a point where 3 races in, the teams have figured them out. The cars aren't out of control anymore. But now you got to rein the drivers in. It's just too nuts right now. They can have a drink of that. So, what else did we have that weekend? Eric Jones got his first career victory finally in the Cup Series. I think he's still probably another year or two removed from being a full-blown competitor at the bread and butter intermediate tracks. But he finally got his first win. Came in a super speedway race. Did some really good moves on that last green-white checkers. Got him outdueled Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick. Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick got taken out at the end at that last big one. But outdueled Truex and Casey Kane. Casey Kane fighting for his career tonight. Because, he's 28th in points right now in that Levine Racing car, which is very disappointing for him. And honestly, Levine's had huge ambitions this year. They had a full-blown. They were getting cars from Hendrick. They had a bunch of engineers and their crew chief from Hendrick and stuff like that. And it's been really disappointing for
for that bunch this year. But Casey, yeah, good on him, fighting for that win, try to keep his career alive. Personally, I don't see him being one of those drivers that will meander on for struggling for years to come. But I can see him in like a 47 car or something like that. But I don't know. Before he continues running mid pack, I see him stepping out of the seat before he'll run mid pack some more. But anyways, nice to see. Finally got some. Yeah, a week that the president of ISC calls out, all these young drivers aren't winning. That's why our ticket sales are so bad. That's just an excuse. Yeah, you got your big four right now. I'm including Clint Boyer in this because he's kind of had a resurgent season this year. But you get your Kevin Harvick, your Kyle Busch, your Martin Truex Jr. They've been doing all the winning this year. Unfortunately, Kyle Larson's struggled this year, and I think it's a lot to do with the new Chevy body. He had a very fast car once again at this race, but got taken out in the first big one. Or no, he got taken out with he got a little bit of damage, and he cut a tire right after green flag pit stops, and that was the first one that really kind of took out Ricky Stenhouse. But anyways, you got all those young drivers at Hendrick now, and unfortunately, Jimmy Johnson, he had a real strong car at the start of the race, and it was kind of, he got taken out in the big one, and one of the big ones, and yeah, it's just disappointing to see his season. So I used to root against the guy because he won so much, but now it's like, oh man, now just to see him struggle like he is, it's like, man, I want to see him finally snap that bad luck. But I think a lot of it is just the new Camaros for this year. They don't have them figured out. And keep in mind, Hendrick is a very young team. They still got a lot of figuring out. So you're relying on all those young drivers to help develop your car. And Jamie Johnson and Chad Knaus are struggling with it. So if your team leader's struggling with the new car, the rest of the team's going to struggle. And Chase Elliott, I don't think is a leader quite yet. He still is yet to break through. He got taken out in the big one, or one of the big crashes this weekend. So I have to wait again, Chase fans. Yeah, there's another thing too. I thought it was kind of funny. It's like Eric Jones got his first win before Chase did. And also keep in mind, Chris Buescher has a race win, and Chase doesn't. But anyways, let's run through the rundown, the top five real quick. Eric Jones winning his first career race. Their unsponsored car. No sponsor this weekend, so they had the Toyota deal on it, promoting the Camry and the buyatoyota.com on the car. Martin Truex Jr. almost got that big for another win, but finished second. AJ Allmendinger had a very good car at the end. The two JTG cars stayed out of trouble, and honestly, Chris Buescher had a real shot on the last lap to win that. AJ was pushing him. They got him up to third, and then Chase snookered him. Or not Chase, AJ snookered him and tried going for the win himself. Ended up not having the momentum to get past Eric and Martin, and ended up finishing third. Chris still finished fifth, but what are you going to do? Yeah, man, that kind of could have had a real good feel-good story if, like, AJ had stuck behind Chris. No, he had to go for the win himself. And you cost both of you guys better finishes and potentially a win. Yeah. That kind of And I know that's kind of the mentality AJ's got because he comes from open wheel racing where you got an A driver and you got a B driver and you expected to run like that. But he's been in this sport for 10 years now. If you're not going to share with your teammate, really, what's the point in being on a team where you got to be with teammates? And honestly, AJ is struggling this year. Chris has been out running them most weekends. I'm pretty sure this is a contract year for AJ. I think this because Chris has been out running them, and AJ has slowly gotten kind of grumpier and grumpier the last couple of years, I believe. He's gotten... Yeah, I don't see him sticking around next year. If this is the team, I think if they can get like a Casey Kane or maybe even another young driver, a good up and comer, or even another journeyman driver, I think they will. I think they would. Just, I don't know. I see the AJ Allmendinger kind of deal getting kind of worse before it gets better, and I think that's going to end up costing him a ride. And then, of course, Casey finished 4th for his best finish of the year so far. Underdog report. Matt DiBenedetto came back from damage in the big one to finish 7th. Jeffrey Earnhardt, now a part-time driver. His first start since the 600 run for Premium, finished 11th, which I believe is Premium's best finish in Cup so far. And then Brendan Gaughan, driving for the Beard Oil team, finished 12th, had a beat-up car. DJ Kennington came back from a late race finish, finished 13th. But, yeah, that was the Firecracker 400. Oh, and then BK kind of came up with a last-second deal with the New York Racing team, which is the current iteration of Team Extreme. John Cohen. I believe this was just a sponsorship deal, just to put Steakhouse Elite on the car and AJ in the car. They seemed like they had a real fast car first half of the race, and then it looked like they kind of had some mechanical problems and fell out later in the race. But they also got a new crew chief over there. They swapped with Starcom crew chief and car chief. So Tony Furr and Mike Chance are over at BK now, and then Rich is over at Starcom now. So it's kind of keep an eye on those two teams, see where they go from. And then I heard some rumors that part of the whole investment group, or the whole, because it's really weird right now, but you're probably going to see a young rookie driver with very little experience in that 23 car pretty soon, as soon as he gets approved. His dad's heavily involved with BK now, through the bank and stuff like that, so there's a good chance that Greg Galton probably is done with that team. Again, that was Daytona.
What else was racing this weekend?
Well, ARCA was over in Iowa with IndyCar. And of course, this is the one tape delay race we got all year, and people were flipping out. Guys, just 3-4 years ago, we had half the schedule with no coverage at all. Be happy you got what you got, that we got one tape delay race right now. Sheldon Creed won his 3rd race of the year, extending his point lead over Zane Smith. Chandler Smith finished 2nd. Chase Purdy finished 3rd. Zane finished 4th. And Joe Graff Jr. got his best finish yet. I think it was best finish yet for the Chad Bryant deal. Finished 5th. Decker Watch 2018. Natalie finished 16th. 22 laps off the pace. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb. I didn't see on the official rundown or anything on the caution reports of 25 car being involved in anything. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it was probably mechanical. But, yeah. Going to have to wait another week for Natalie Decker win. Other notables this weekend, Brett Holmes. Once again, what wasn't in his car, Wayne Peterson was filling in on that number this week with one of his cars. Brett instead ran for Ken Schrader Racing. They had a new sponsor on that deal. Finished 8th, a halfway decent finish. And that's about where Brett typically runs. But he kind of struggled the last few weeks mightily on his own deal. So good to see him with a good run. Mason Mitchell got back in. Of course, being the local boy from Des Moines, had to get back in his car. Finished 7th. And then Daryl Basham, I kind of shout out to him. Yeah, there was only 23 cars. But Daryl finished his first full race in a couple of years. Ever since he recovered from cancer. From the cancer he had. Finished 14th. 13 laps off the pace. Yeah, it's 13 laps off the pace. But it's not for his operation. He's running an old beat up steel body car. It's an old Schrader car, I believe. But this is the car he got from Brett. What was the name of that cat in Kentucky? Blake Hilliard over in Kentucky. But Blake ended up with the car. I think Blake bought it from Schrader's. Ran it for a couple years. Always ran at Salem, and then they sold the car to Daryl. And that's just been Daryl's guinea pig or money maker the last few years. His son Mike has been driving it primarily, but it was good to see Daryl get back behind the seat for once. But yeah, tape delay race. I couldn't actually tell you how the race was or anything. We won't actually see this one until August. Yeah. But anyways, everything else from the rest of the year is live. And including this weekend's race, which is kind of surprising that this was the tape delay one, yet the race we have next week is live. Well, it's racing this weekend. V8 Supercars over at the Townsville Street Circuit over there in Australia. Big news out of there. Craig Lowndes announced his retirement. Craig was kind of like the best way to describe Craig Lowndes. He's kind of like the Jeff Gordon of V8 Supercars. I think he's got 3 or 4 championships. Was very top dog in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then he's been winning races ever since. And then slowly hasn't been winning as much the last few years. But still, he's been competitive. And yeah, he's retiring at the end of the year. And that's going to be a very big loss for the sport down there. And the best way to describe it is when Jeff Gordon retired on our end. But anyways, Jamie Whincup won it on Saturday, and Shane Van Gisberg won on Sunday. Chipped into that little point lead to Scott McLaughlin a little bit. I still want Scott to win it. I think the Triple Eight deal has won. They've won plenty over the last decade. I think to see the Penske just the Dick Johnson operation. I know it's technically Team Penske now, but they got a lot more resources. It's still Dick Johnson racing, but to see them finally get another championship after 8 years. Scott kind of had one get away from him. DGR Team Penske had one get away from him last year. So yeah, here's hoping that Scott can keep it together this year. F1 was at Silverstone. Now I can't tell you what Iowa was because it's tape delay, but I haven't heard anything. But personally, I think this was the best race of the weekend. I've never really been a big fan of Silverstone. I know there's a lot of fans of it, and I know there's a lot of British fans that are freak out over my opinion. It's my opinion. I've never really been a big fan of Silverstone. It's an airfield circuit. It's relatively flat. I don't know. It's never been one of my favorites. I never really liked it in the Codemasters games. I never really liked it in Forza. It's just my opinion. But it was a great race this weekend. Yeah, nice to see F1 actually putting out great races after so long of just meandering around. But under the reign of Mercedes. But anyways, Sebastian Vettel won with a late race pass with like 3 or 4 to go over Valtteri Bottas, who had old tires. Valtteri finished 4th. But on the start, Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen got together. Lewis spun. Kimi got a 10-second penalty. They came back to finish 2nd and 3rd. Second half of this race got nuts. First of all, I think it was FP3. Brandon Hartley and his Toro Rosso had a suspension failure going into one of the high-speed corners. Very scary accident. The car spun around real quick, got in the gravel trap, and dug in a little bit. Almost got airborne, almost flipped. Got into the tire barrier hard. They were forced to skip qualifying because of the damage. I don't even think they even got out for the race. They were supposed to start off on pit lane, but I don't think they ever got out in time. But anyways, really the second half of this race, I think the turning point is they're making green flag pit stops, and Charles Leclerc, the rookie in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. I know a lot of people are not really high on him right now, but the kid absolutely dominated Formula 2 last year. But I think he's been quietly doing pretty good this year in the Sauber, kind of outperforming the equipment. And honestly, the Sauber operation, I believe, has been kind of picking it up too, because Marcus Ericsson, who's notably a pay driver, has picked it up a little bit too. But unfortunately, Charles was running in the top 10 in the points, had a loose wheel during a pit stop, came out, parked it in the gravel trap as soon as he came out, pretty much. I don't think they even threw his virtual safety car. I think they got him. But then it got nuts right after that. Shortly after, his teammate Marcus Ericsson, going into turn, I think it was turn 1. I don't know if he ever said if he got loose or something broke or something, but I just lost it flipped around real quick. Tank slapper, as they say. But, yeah, got into the tires real hard, brought safety car, and then had a restart. And then on the restart, Romain Grosjean got in another wreck. Yeah. Man, that Haas team, they got speed, running well within the top 10, but then Romain, of course, I don't know if this one was totally his fault, but just the fact he's been in so many wrecks. He's he's regressed back to his 2012, 2013 time period at Lotus. Remember, he got parked for one race because all the wrecks he was causing, and then he caused a real big one at the start at Spa. So, yeah, Carlos Sainz, I think Carlos didn't. I think it was one of those that there was a gap. Carlos didn't think that Romain was gonna fill the gap, so Carlos came down on him, and then they both ended up in the tires. So out came another caution or another safety car. So then we got the restart. The racing got incredible. Now those last 10 laps, and then Max Verstappen spun. I think there was contact with him and Kimi. I don't think I ever saw a replay of it, but or I don't think they ever showed the replay. But because he fell out, he got going again, made like another half lap, but then had mechanical issues and had to fall out. So But anyways, just fantastic racing going on. And then I see Sebastian Vettel extend that point lead just a little bit more over Lewis Hamilton. And then the fact that Lewis has won like the past 4 or 5 straight British Grand Prix. So, man, nice to see fresh face on top of the podium this year for once. And then, but yeah, easily, probably best F1 race of the year. Best F1 race in quite a while. Oh my God, that was great racing. And then best race of the weekend by far of the major motorsports events that I happened to see. And then there was the IndyCar race this afternoon at Iowa. Kind of some high hopes for this one. And hey, we got some bull ring racing for the IndyCars. And the thing is this seems like a really old school, almost Milwaukee type of race where it just got spread out. One guy ran away with it. There wasn't really much going on. Zach Veach caught on fire on pit lane briefly. They got it out, and he took able to continue. Then he got in the grays and got in the wall a little bit, right side a little bit. The caution came out, and then with 7 to go. But then about 50 to go. James Hinchcliffe saved his tire. Seems that he could save his tires over a long run a lot better than Joseph Newgarden. And then started chipping away at that lead again. And then probably about 30 to go or something like that. Finally was able to get around Joseph. And Joseph didn't even realize he was racing James for position. And they had to remind him on the radio. It was like, oh, that was the lead. So I got a kick out of that. But anyways, then we seem to have this a couple times a year in IndyCar. Things got weird at the end. And we have a lot of question marks about the race officiating. And unfortunately, it seems to happen for IndyCar a couple times a year. It happened earlier this year at Birmingham with the whole handling of the rain. Still mad about that. I'm right up there with Paul Tracy. I'm sure Paul's still upset about that. Them red flagging and running the next day at a road course. But anyways, Ed Carpenter got loose coming out of 2. Went to spin it. Takuma Sato happened to be right there. And Ed caught with his front wing, caught the side pod of Takuma. Takuma kept going, but ripped the little winglet coming off the side pod, ripped that off the car, and Ed straightened it out, kept on going, but then that debris was on the track, so they had to throw a caution with 7 to go, and then it got weird. So they thought they were going to get it going again. They opened up pit road. Justin Newgarden and Robert Wickens pitted out 2nd and 3rd. And then the green flag never came back when they finished the race. Well, good thing Joseph wasn't in the lead, because that would have been an outroar. He finished 4th. There was only 4 cars on the lead lap at the end of that thing. But, oh my God. Why'd you guys, why'd you even open the pits if you weren't going to go back green? It just, I got to drink a beer. That just makes no sense. Why? Oh my God. And this is coming right after all the IndyCar guys were high and mighty after the shit show NASCAR put on last night at Daytona. And then that happens. They barf up the officiating and the end of a race again. And it's like, man, you guys can't. And honestly, it would have been a forgettable race regardless. It was a forgettable race regardless. There really wasn't much to talk about for this one. It was just a quick Joseph Newgarden kind of used up his tires at the end. And James Hinchcliffe, good story by the way. James get first win of the year, kind of redemption for missing the Indy 500. But man, oh, that was cringeworthy at the end. That was just weird. And then of course now all the NASCAR guys are going, IndyCar's stupid. Seems like everyone's stupid right now. But anyways, and rounding out the podium, I got it written down. Spencer Pigot, he had a career day today. Anyways, he would have finished fourth. Kind of faded at the end, but he finally kept his nose clean. Finished second for finally put together a good weekend for the Ed Comforter crew this year. He's been really feast or famine this year. A lot more famine than feast. But nice to see him finally bounce back for a full one. And then King Sato, despite having a damaged race car, stayed out, finished third for I think it's his first podium of the year. So good on King Sato. It's kind of been a disappointing year this year so far for his return for Ray Hall, but the kid that replaced him wrecked out halfway, so I think Sato's doing better. A lot better. But anyways, that was the racing this weekend. I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch upon. I ain't never sipping my beer. Oh, what's coming up this week? Well, if you had asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have been kind of about this one. We got Kentucky again. It was kind of a forgettable wreck fest last year, and it was a wreck fest, but I don't really think it was that memorable. Regardless, otherwise, like I honestly don't know who won. Was it Martin Truex Jr.? I think he did, but I don't know. All I remember, there was a bunch of wrecks. And that was that. But Chicagoland happened 2 weeks ago, and that was a great race. And a finish for the ages. So, you know what? Got a little bit of faith for Kentucky. And honestly, it shouldn't be as hot as it was in Chicago, because Kentucky's right in the mountains. So, you know what? I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Bring on Kentucky. And honestly, it's the only intermediate race for a while. Like we got New Hampshire right after, Pocono again, and then we'll have Michigan, which is kind of I don't know if I want to consider that a intermediate race. You do some similar stuff that you do on the intermediates, but it's kind of its own deal because it's so quick. And then you got then we got Watkins Glen, Bristol, Richmond, Darlington. I can't believe I almost forgot Darlington. And then we get right back into our chase with the meat and potatoes. Oh yeah, capping it off with the Indy. We should really be on the road course this year. But luckily, they finally gave it a date that the fans won't suffer. Because, oh my God, the middle of Indianapolis in the middle of July is horrific. And that place is a concrete bunker. So, and I'll rant about that sometime later. But I've been doing this for almost an hour now. So, anyways, Cup, Xfinity, and trucks are at Kentucky. IndyCar and the Canadian, I still want to call it the Canadian Tire Series, the Pinty Series, the Canadian NASCAR Series. They are at Toronto this week. I like Toronto. It's a quick. It's not as special as Long Beach, but it's a tradition. It's gonna be a good one. And then if you can. I know Canadian fans will I don't know how their TV deal works. I think they got a lot of tape delay too, but it should be live. But yeah, NASCAR style cars on a street course. This is your opportunity to catch it, and I'm sure it's going to be on YouTube shortly after this week, or after the weekend. K&N E Series, second straight week since their return to Thompson. Fantastic 5/8 mile over in Connecticut, doing their annual, I guess, throwback weekend now, because every series has to have a throwback weekend, because NASCAR does a throw. There's a Cup Series does Darlington, and they do a throwback weekend, so that means the K&N Series got to do a throwback weekend at Thompson. That means Archer's got to do a throwback weekend at, oh my god. Everyone gets a silver, or gets a trophy. Yeah. Yay us. Couldn't Darlington just be its own thing? Yeah, I understand doing the occasional throwback. Brett Holmes did a Hut Strickland throwback at Talladega this year in ARCA. But now you gotta make an event out of it, because Darlington has an event out of it. If you can't beat them, join them. Anyways, what else is racing this week? F1 is off. The West Series is off until Iowa. ARCA is up in Minnesota at the Fast 3/8 mile at Elko. Yeah, it's probably got to be a 20-car field, because it's Elko, and who wants to drive 20 hours to a one-day show at Elko? But hey, Menards helps. They're out there because that's kind of in Menards' backyard. So hey, it's live. It's live on MAV TV. So hey, yeah, this is the race we got live. Yet Iowa, but Iowa was born last year, so, and Elko was a lot of fun to watch on TV, and they had that big crash at the end. So maybe that's why. Also returning this week is Formula E, I believe, for their last race of the year, because they do that funky winter racing kind of race October into March, and then they have a season finale in July, because why the hell not? Yeah, that series, I was really big into them when it first started, and it's kind of became another series to follow. So, yeah. There's some things I like to do. It's very gimmicky. But they tend to put on a good show, because they pretty much, the tires are pretty much street tires. They're so hard and have no grip whatsoever, and the cars aren't fast. It's like Martinsville every week. But yeah, they got a new car coming out next year, I believe. So, and I think it looks a lot better than what they currently run. The cars are running now. I never really was a fan of it. I like it was the original. I think it's an evolution of the original, but it's got that weird wing in the front. Yeah. Also, if you like late model racing, if you're up in New Hampshire, the American Canadian Tour is racing at Speedway 51. Fun little quarter mile up there. And then the Cars Late Model Stock Series is running at Kingsport Speedway, just down the road from Bristol, Tennessee. Fast little 3/8, high bank 3/8 mile. I think Super Cup Series ran there recently. That's a track that really they don't know if they're going to continue or not. So yeah, hopefully Cars puts on a good show there. They should have pay-per-view for that event. They usually do. So I'm sure we'll be able to catch the highlights this weekend. Or you can support the series and pay for the pay-per-view. Or if you're local to the area, go support the track. Anyways, get this wound down. Channel update. The Wookie drives. The one I talked about last week. The one I filmed
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. I basically sat on that. I wrote the script last week and I sat on it and I didn't like it, and I thought it was too derivative. I thought it was more of the same of what I've been doing, so I kind of scrapped it and started from scratch. I'm a lot happier now with the script I got now. So I'll be recording that audio as soon as I get done recording this. So tonight, Sunday night, July 8th, this podcast will be up. Hopefully this week I got the June vlog coming up. I kind of want to focus energy on the Wookie drives, but if it's got to wait till next weekend, I'll put the vlog up because the vlog takes like 10 minutes to edit together. The Wookie lives, the Wookie drives takes a bit to do, a few hours of work, but then so I'll probably have the vlog out midweek, and then I'll put the Wookie drives out sometime next week or sometime in the week. It'll probably end up being next weekend, but anyways, and then I also got a Wookie takes on episode. Me at a fantastic little museum, transportation museum up in Iowa. I got a bunch of footage and put it on my computer and forgot about it. So yeah, I got some stuff coming for the channel. On top of it, I'm probably gonna do some more filming this week. During one of my lunch breaks. Episode 11 for Wookie Drives is it's gonna be something completely different. I probably already alluded at it one of my earlier podcasts, but yeah, I gotta get done that Wookie Drives first. I've been sitting on that for 2 weeks now, and yeah, I need to get off my lazy ass and do it. But it's been a busy 2 weeks too. Work has been nuts. So I just haven't had time to really devote to the channel other than the squeezing in the podcast. And even then, I didn't even have time to get the podcast out last. Well, I had it recorded, but then I didn't have time to edit. I didn't have time to filter it and slap it on YouTube real quick, and then put it on a Shout Engine because I was an idiot. But anyways, that's this week's podcast. Next week's Kentucky. Oh, yeah, and should have note, I didn't get heat exhaustion this week. Yay. Hopefully I can go 2 straight weeks at Kentucky. Usually Kentucky's pretty cool, and usually we got a lot of rain. So, anyways, I've rambled on enough. This was the Wookie Automotive Racin Ramblin, blah, 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 blah podcast. Have a good week.